KJ Harrison Lombardi is sporting the Italian-colored trunks and the Italian-colored hair. Antonio Chavez-Fernandez is wearing the orange trunks with the black trim. That hairstyle that KJ Harrison Lombardi has for this particular fight seems to have been popularized by Shalito Vincent amongst the CES crop of fighters.
Yeah, I tell you, it's funny. I haven't seen him with that hairstyle yet, so it's just, you know, it gives him character.
It was a surprise when he took the hood off that he had that new hairstyle.
I had no idea.
We talked a lot about Antonio Chavez-Fernandez's record as he was making his way to the ring. Let's talk a little bit about KJ Harrison's record. 4-0-1 entering this fight. The lone draw on his record was against 3-1-1 Fadu Lewis at a fight at Royale Nightclub in Boston last September. And for those who were there, it was a very entertaining bout between two evenly matched competitors. Let's see how Harrison fares against the tough, durable, and rugged veteran Antonio Chavez-Fernandez. And right off the bat, it looked like Antonio Chavez-Fernandez almost got caught up in the ropes a little bit and almost ate a left hand from Harrison Lombardi as a result of it. I was told prior to tonight's fight that these two have been in the ring against one another in the gym, and apparently there is some hostility between the two entering this professional bout under the lights tonight.
Yeah, I didn't know that. This fighter is from Brockton, right? So that makes a lot of sense. I used to go to Brockton once a week for sparring because there's a lot of fighters over there.
Antonio Chavez-Fernandez was introduced as being from Brockton, Massachusetts. Actually, technically resides in Quincy at the moment, but still considers Brockton to be his hometown here in the United States, originally from the U.S. Virgin Islands. He's a guy that's bounced around gyms as well, trains with Jimmy Farrell in Quincy, quite often one of the better trainers in New England, in my opinion. Also has worked with Orlando Valles in Providence quite a bit throughout his career. I mentioned in the opening to this bout that Antonio Chavez-Fernandez is a guy that will fight anyone and everyone from 147 to 160 pounds, but more often than not fights at 147 and 154. Fighting in the middleweight division tonight against KJ Harrison Lombardi. Do you notice any physical differences between the two which could be a detriment to Chavez-Fernandez?
It definitely looked like KJ's the bigger, stronger guy in this case. You see there's a little weight difference right off the bat, but obviously Fernandez has been boxing at a lighter weight. So I give KJ the advantage in this fight.
KJ Harrison Lombardi certainly the more filled out of the two fighters in terms of their body size. Chavez-Fernandez just tall and lanky.
KJ's been around a long time too. He has a lot of amateur fights, and I always thought he should have turned pro a lot sooner, but in and out of boxing, and I don't know why it took him so long, but the kid can fight. And I don't know if you know this, Pete, but KJ trains with my son, Gary, and they've been sparring before this fight.
So Gary Belletto Jr. getting some work in with KJ Harrison Lombardi, helping KJ prepare for this fight, which we're watching right now against Antonio Chavez-Fernandez.
That's right. They work great together.
Round one concludes of this 4-round middleweight scrap between KJ Harrison Lombardi and Antonio Chavez-Fernandez. Peter Zimbor and Gary Tiger Belletto calling the action from the Twin River Casino in Lincoln, Rhode Island. Beautiful facility for boxing, has been the home base for CES boxing in and around the area for the past 5 years or so. Disappointed that this venue opened up shortly thereafter you conclude your professional boxing career?
It's funny you ask that because people think that I used to fight at Twin River. I said I never fought at Twin River. You know, it was right after my career was finished, actually. And, you know, I wish I got the opportunity to do that, but, you know, because it's a beautiful place.
You capped off your career with a very entertaining win at the Rhode Island Convention Center, if I recall correctly, in Providence.
That's right. Yeah, I finished my professional career. I fought Matthew Strode, who was 21-1. So I wanted to go out with a big win.
I remember thinking heading into that fight, for a guy that's saying this is my final fight, you think you would have picked an easier opponent. You took on a tough guy in your final bout and emerged victorious.
The fighter was actually tougher than I thought, but it was definitely what I wanted. I didn't want to fight a ham and egg kind of guy in my last fight.
And your popularity was soaring at the time, following your appearances on the Contender TV show, which aired on ESPN at the time, as we're watching KJ Harrison Lombardi and Antonio Chavez-Fernandez in round number 2 here at the Twin River.
I give KJ the first round.
As did I.
And Tony seems to be picking up the pace this round. He's moving, he's boxing a little more. KJ trying to cut off the ring. Nice right hand.
And I think Antonio Chavez-Fernandez is hurt. He goes to hold on, and his knees fall to the canvas. No knockdown, the rule to slip. But he was going down because he was forced to hold on as he was stunned by a KJ Harrison Lombardi right hand.
He definitely felt that one.
He says he didn't feel that one, but acknowledges that it landed by shaking his head.
Whenever a fighter shakes their head when they get hit, that means it hurt.
Antonio Chavez-Fernandez goes to a knee for the second time in round number 2, once again as he tries to hold on to his opponent. Round 2 comes to a conclusion between Antonio Chavez-Fernandez and KJ Harrison Lombardi. Another good round for KJ Harrison Lombardi.
It was much more competitive, though.
See, I thought round 1 was fairly competitive. I thought in round 2, Antonio Chavez-Fernandez was actually hurt to some degree.
You know something? Antonio boxed good the first 30 seconds of the round, and then he fell into the same trap he did in the first round.
Okay? You gotta stop him in his tracks, okay? Open that. Open your mouth, you fuck. Come on. Exactly. You feel wide like this and run away. You gotta work. You gotta get that respect. You gotta hit this kid. He's wide open, Lino. Right? You see his deep breath through the nose. Again. Oh, we gotta win. We gotta pick it up. That fucking check out Twins Pizza today. You gotta work, Lino. Pick it up.
Round 3 of the scheduled 4-rounder underway. KJ Harrison Lombardi begins round 3 with a nice left jab to the face of Chavez-Fernandez. Nothing but Antonio Chavez-Fernandez that we did not mention as we were discussing the impressive list of opponents he's been in the ring with. He's a guy that got better throughout the duration of his professional boxing career because of the level of opposition he was continuously in against. And another thing about him is you never really know which guy is showing up. Sometimes he looks spectacular, and other times he looks durable.
To me, he looks durable. Whenever somebody fights that opposition, they're going to get better as time goes on. When I turned professional, Pete, I only had 15 amateur fights, so I basically learned as I went along in the professionals. And, you know, I really didn't, I wasn't where I wanted to be until probably like my 15th fight as a pro.
In retrospect, did you think that you turned pro too early? Should have you had more seasoning as an amateur before going pro? And what would you recommend to young fighters today making that decision?
I would recommend, and I tell my son the same thing because he wants to turn pro now. He only has about 7 amateur fights. I had 15, and kind of feel like he wants to follow my footsteps, but I definitely think you should have about 100 amateur fights before you turn professional.
Your son probably feels, I'm sparring with professional fighters, and wants the glory of being under the lights, but you just think for his own personal safety and well-being as a fighter, he should have some more seasoning. That's
exactly the problem. He's sparring with all the pros you see on this card tonight around his weight class, and he does well with everybody. So, you know, obviously thinks he's ready to turn pro too, but I want something different for him. I want him to get a lot of experience before he does turn professional.
How old is your son, Gary Tiger Boletto Jr. at this point?
Gary just turned 19 last month, a month ago from today. Actually, the January 20th, actually.
Round 3 coming to a conclusion between KJ Harrison Lombardi and Antonio Chavez-Fernandez, and another good frame for KJ Harrison Lombardi as he has Antonio Chavez-Fernandez on the retreat as round 3 comes to a conclusion, though it's Chavez-Fernandez holding his right hand up as he goes to his corner at the end of round 3. I can see the enticement of wanting to be a pro boxer if you're sparring with pros at the age of 19.
Oh, yeah. And he's sparring with not just pros, he's sparring with the best we have in Rhode Island.
And he's holding his own.
He does. He always did. Gary's a natural athlete. No matter what sport I put him in, he excelled. Be in wrestling, football. Baseball, he didn't like too much.
Well, there's no shortage of baseball players to take a spot in that sport. Boxing will have it.
I think so.
America's favorite light beer since 1973. Try it tonight, Miller Lite. Official sponsor, Home Sweet Home.
When he tries to tie you up on the inside, keep working.
Final round. It looks like this fight's going to go the distance. I have KJ winning all 3 rounds.
As do I, and KJ Harrison Lombardi has never had a fight that has
no knockout yet.
He has no knockouts. Every fight he's been a part of has gone the distance.
What a nice right hand that was. I'll tell you, he looks like he wants that knockout.
Amidst round 4 between KJ Harrison Lombardi and Antonio Chavez-Fernandez. Peter Zimborn, Gary Tiger Boletto calling the action here at the event center at Twin River Casino. Quite the popular guy at the broadcast table tonight, Gary.
I know that. I'm losing. I'm getting distracted, and I'm not paying attention to the fight because they keep talking to me. A minute left in the round.
You drinks earlier, and I'm like, we're in the middle of a broadcast.
Plus, I'm on antibiotics, so I can't drink.
Yeah, probably not the best idea to mix those two. as expected. Given the tendencies of both fighters, this fight more than likely will go the distance. 15 seconds to go here in the fourth and final round between KJ Harrison Lombardi and Antonio Chavez-Fernandez. Fighting in very close quarters as the round and the fight comes to conclusion. Probably making it difficult for anything spectacular to happen as the fight ends. Antonio Chavez-Fernandez holding his hand up in victory. KJ Harrison Lombardi kneels in prayer. We'll get the official verdict in just a moment from the official ringside scores. Despite the body language of the two fighters following the final bell, it's my instinct that KJ Harrison Lombardi did enough to win.
I think the judge is going to give them all 4 rounds. I don't think Antonio did enough to win a round, but he was competitive and he tried his best.
Judge San Martino scores the bout 40-36. Judge Trella scores the bout 40-36. Judge Carasone scores the bout 39-37. And your winner by unanimous decision, KJ Harrison Lombardi.